After this past year's NBA playoffs and finals, a lot of people have brought back the conversations on if the NBA is rigged or not, when there were some questionable calls or no calls in favor of the Warriors. So we're going to break down if there really is a problem with the refs in the NBA, and we're going to look at all the problems that have come up with the referees in the past that look like they might have been rigging games and decide if they actually were. And then with all of that evidence, we can bring it back around to this past year's finals and decide whether or not it really was rigged. So let's start off by looking at what's known as the NBA's most blatantly rigged game in history. The 2002 Western Conference Finals between the Kobe and Shaq Lakers and the Sacramento Kings. By 2002, the Lakers had won the last 2 straight NBA championships and they were looking for the three-peat. But that got into real jeopardy when the Western Conference Finals came around. Every single game that series that the Lakers and the Kings played was close, but after 5 games, the Kings were up 3 games to 2, and one went away from a huge upset and making it to the NBA Finals. So this is what led to Game 6 being the most rigged game in history. There's no doubt in my mind that the referees were told to do everything in their power to help the Los Angeles Lakers win this game. And after these next few minutes, I'm sure you'll probably feel the same way. Because with the amount of calls the Lakers got, and the amount of calls the Kings didn't get, there's not even an argument. And it really starts in the third quarter. With 3 minutes left in the third, Kings center Vlade Divac and backup Scott Pollard both have 3 fouls. And when Divac picked up his 4th, Coach Rick Adelman took him out of the game for Scott Pollard. And then after a no call on this, and then this foul, and this one, and this one, Pollard gets fouled out of the game after 11 minutes of playtime. So they bring Divac back in, but then he picks up 2 more fouls and he gets fouled out too. Chris Webber had 5 of his own, and this just continued for the rest of the game. And even through all of this, up until the last few minutes of the fourth quarter, the Kings were still looking like they could really win the game. But even if all of those fouls weren't enough, with 11 seconds left, the Lakers were up by 1 and inbounding the ball. The Kings played great defense and they were about to hold LA off for a 5-second violation and get the ball back. But then Kobe Bryant elbows Mike Bibby in the face and runs him over. I bet you Kobe wouldn't do that now. But the foul was called on Mike Bibby, which led to the Lakers finally winning the game. LA shot 24 foul shots in the fourth quarter alone, and the Kings shot 9. I mean, the fact that only this game, the elimination game for the Lakers, was called like this really proves that there's no stance for an argument on this game being rigged so the Lakers could make their 3rd NBA Finals and win their 3rd NBA championship, since the Nets really stood no chance anyways. And the next instance is the 2006 NBA Finals between the Dallas Mavericks and the Miami Heat. So many people believe that this series was rigged because after going down 0-2 to the Mavericks, Miami won 4 straight games to win the finals. But not just that, in those 4 games, Dwayne Wade shot 73 free throws. That's a little over 18 a game. But let's break this down game by game. So before they even stepped foot on the court, the Mavericks were favorites to win the finals. They finished with a 60-22 record, while the Heat finished 52-30. So like I said, the Mavs went on to take game 1 and 2, but in game 3 is when things started to get a little out of hand. Dwayne Wade shot 18 free throws, and there was a good amount of fouls in that game that weren't even fouls, and Wade barely got touched. Like this, and this. Miami still played okay this game, and Dirk did miss a game-tying free throw, so the Heat won this one. In game 4, the Mavs played terrible, and Wade only shot 9 free throws, so now the series was tied 2-2. But then we get to game 5, leading to him taking 25 free throws, the same amount that the entire Dallas Mavericks took that game. But even through all that, Dirk hit a shot in overtime to give the Mavs a 1-point lead with 10 seconds left. And then came the most controversial foul call that Wade got, was this one that got called on Dirk, where he clearly makes no contact, but Wade would still go on to hit 2 free throws and win the game. And Wade posted this picture on the 10th anniversary of that game, saying how calling it rigged was unfair because he attacked the basket every time he touched the ball. And that was true. I mean, the man only took 11 threes the entire series. But Wade also says that he did get fouled on that play and that this picture is proof. looking at this paused moment of the play makes it look like a foul, but it also makes it look a lot worse than when it actually happened in real time. Plus, the foul was called on Dirk and not Devin Harris. So it looks like the referees definitely saved the Heat in Game 5. So in Game 5, Wade shot 25 free throws, and then in Game 6, he shot 21 when the entire Mavs team only shot 23. And that helped lead Miami to winning their 4th straight game and the 2006 NBA Finals. Now, there could be an argument for this, saying that Mavs team was a jump shooting team, which they were, so they weren't expected to get a lot of fouls. But even Tracy McGrady said that he believes it was rigged in an interview. He said, "It seemed like it was rigged with him getting all the calls he was getting." We're talking about the NBA Finals. I wish I could say I was kidding, but that's just what it seemed like. And then even Phil Jackson said that he thought Wade was averaging about 25 free throws a game, and that they couldn't even touch him without them calling a foul. But even with all this being said, you have to ask yourself, why would the NBA rig this finals? It's not the case with the Lakers and the Kings, where millions of dollars were on the line because of a potential three-peat. I mean, it was both the Mavs and the Heat's first time in the NBA Finals. So what would they gain out of letting Miami and Dwayne Wade win? Well, a lot of people point to the fact that Mavs owner Mark Cuban has had problems with the league and a terrible relationship with David Stern and NBA referees for years. He's been known for not being scared to say whatever he wants and do whatever he wants to the refs because he's not scared of getting fined. He doesn't care if he has to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars because he's a billionaire. So there's always been a strained relationship there with him and the refs. Even at the end of Game 5, Cuban got fined at $250,000 for running onto the court to yell at a ref and then yelling at David Stern in the stands because he was so upset with the officiating and Wade's 25 foul shots. But would David Stern really risk the entire NBA just to get payback at Mark Cuban to help his ego? I don't know David Stern, but that sounds like a stretch. But either way, Cuban was so angry and convinced that it was rigged, he hired former FBI agents to investigate the NBA. The agent told Mark he should sue the NBA and that they would win the case. But if he did that, he knew he would be killing the golden goose. So Cuban decided to not go through with the lawsuit. But we're never gonna really know what this FBI agent found out that convinced himself and Mark Cuban that they could actually win that lawsuit. That definitely is something to think about though. So I laid all the information out, and now it's up to you to decide if you think it was rigged. But we do have one more main case to look through, and that's Tim Donaghy. If you're unaware, Donaghy was an NBA referee from 1994 to 2007. But in 2007, there was an FBI investigation based on allegations that referees were betting on games. It was around the same time, but I'm pretty sure this was a separate investigation than the one Mark Cuban started. But the FBI found out that Donaghy had a gambling problem, so from 2005 to 2007, he bet thousands of dollars on games he officiated for giving away insider information like players' health and relationships between referees and certain players. He worked with a bunch of people on this, and at one point he was making $5,000 per game that he predicted the outcome of. And as a result of all this, Tim Donaghy spent 15 months in prison and has been banned from the NBA ever since. So between 2005 and 2007, we don't know how much, but we do know that there actually were NBA games that were rigged. But besides breaking the biggest rule in all of sports, Donaghy actually gave some interesting information. He said he knows for a fact that Game 6 of the 2002 Western Conference Finals between the Lakers and the Kings was rigged. He said he knew that 2 of the referees in that game were company men, and they were told by a top NBA executive to extend the series to 7 games for more money and higher ratings. He said they intentionally called personal fouls and ignored others to help extend the series. And that was exactly what happened. But Donaghy also came out and said that the 2006 NBA Finals were rigged too. He said Dallas was basically screwed out of a championship in that situation because the NBA started to manipulate the series to make sure it was extended and Dallas could just never recover from it, which was also what happened. And he also said, let's not forget that at the time Ed Rush was the supervisor of officials and he absolutely hated Mark Cuban's guts. And that Rush trained the referees to look for things that could give Miami an advantage, and he eventually got everyone to dislike Mark Cuban. Which does fall into the conspiracies that were laid out for why the series was actually rigged. So here we have claims from a former NBA referee that agree with the fact that both of these series that really looked rigged actually were, with evidence that makes sense. There's two ways you can look at it though. You could either not believe it at all because he was put in prison for gambling on games, so he can't be trusted, and he's just saying these things to stay in the spotlight, or that he's the only NBA referee ever that was on the inside of things and now has nothing to lose, so he's the only guy that could actually expose this information. Whatever you decide on though, with all of that being said, there was some speculation that the 2018 playoffs and the finals were rigged for the Golden State Warriors. Whether it was missed calls in Game 7 against the Rockets, or Game 1 against the Cavs. Now, using everything we looked at from the Lakers-Kings game, it would make sense to think that the Warriors-Rockets game could have been rigged to let the Warriors make the finals again and face the Cavs for the 4th time in a row. But there's no real benefit of Game 1 being rigged when they changed the charge call to help the Warriors win. The NBA definitely did break the rules to correct that call by going to replay, but in the end, they did end up getting the call right because that was a blocking foul. So overall, after looking at all of this evidence, there is a small chance that the league helped the Warriors beat the Rockets in Game 7, but there would really be no benefit of helping them in the finals. I mean, it's not like Golden State needed help anyways, so comment your thoughts on that. And then one last quick referee problem that's in the NBA is the relationship between the players and the refs. Even in most of those clips that we looked at of all these terrible, maybe rigged calls, you didn't see the players yelling at the refs like they do today. No matter what happens in the play, no matter what the call is, somebody's arguing with the refs. Every single time the whistle blows, every time a foul's called, someone's upset because they don't think they committed a foul or because they thought they got fouled, which has led to a lot of technical fouls and a bad relationship with the players and the referees. So bad that the league even set up a meeting during All-Star Weekend between the players and the referees, and out of all the players in the NBA, Andre Iguodala and Spencer Dinwiddie were the only ones to show up. Players finally had their chance to talk to the refs, and they chose not to. They chose to keep things how they are. I mean, I really don't see why it wasn't a mandatory meeting, but if things keep going the way they are, I can definitely see one being put in this year if things don't change. But we'll have to see. So out of all the games we looked at earlier, I would say the 2002 Western Conference Finals definitely was rigged, the 2006 Finals had a high chance of being rigged, and I don't really think there's a chance that the 2018 Finals were rigged. But I want to know what you guys think, so definitely comment your thoughts on that, and on this entire situation of the NBA referee problem, and let me know what you think. And as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and I'll catch you next video.